Okay, welcome everybody to another Chazaq event. I just want to express a chorus of tov to Chazaq. I've spoken for them on several occasions already, and it's an unbelievable organization that does unbelievable things, awesome things. And you would think by some of the things that they do that they're an organization that's been around for like 50 years, right? But we know it's, Yaniv, I don't think you've been around for 50 years yet, right? Okay, but it seems like it because the way they've mobilized and the numbers of people they reach and the things that they put out, not only in volume, but in quality, is just absolutely amazing. So it's a schus for me to be part of this and to be able to be part of the education process and all the other good things that Chazaq does. So welcome. And I appreciate you coming out on such a cold night. Maybe not everybody got the text messages, but at least some people came, and I'm happy to be here for any number of people. And the topic tonight, I think, is a very important one, and I know we're being filmed, so hopefully many others will take advantage and be aware of what we have to say. For those that are viewing this event, if you do want to contact me, if you have questions, I'll give an email address. It's R as in Robert, M as in Michael, Shields, SHIELDS, 62 at verizon.net. Okay, so that's the email address. Phone is 718-544-4036. Again, that's 718-544-4036. I am a New York State certified nutritionist. I've been practicing nutrition for about 25 years. I do a lot of teaching and a lot of educational work. And the topic tonight is nutrition for school performance. A very important topic, and one that's often somewhat neglected and maybe not thought about that much. But how many people just sitting here by a show of hands feels that nutrition plays some role in academic performance? Okay, I just want to tell you about 17 years ago, I gave a talk for an organization called Torah U'Masora, which is a big national organization that coordinates a lot of the day schools and so on. And at that talk, I had the schus of meeting Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky, Shlita, and he endorsed my topic. The topic was nutrition for academic performance. And he personally told me that Talmidim are not learning as well because they're not eating well. And he said I can quote him on that, so that's what I'm doing right now. Since that time, I've heard from many of the patients and people that I work with that they're concerned about their ability to concentrate, their ability to remember things, their ability to focus, memory, all sorts of things like that. So all I can tell you is that nutrition is not the whole answer to everything, but it plays an important role, and hopefully tonight we'll become more aware of the role of nutrition and how nutrition affects the brain. And how it affects, obviously, the entire body. You know, there's a lot of research today that shows nutrition plays an important role. Listen to this. I've heard it said that if there was a computer, imagine, the size of 3 Empire State Buildings, if you can imagine such a thing, a computer the size of 3 Empire State Buildings, the brain is able to accomplish what that size computer would be able to do. Now the brain, the Ribbon Shalom put it into our heads. It's a small area, and nevertheless, a brain that size can do so much. It's truly an amazing phenomenon. Now the process of learning itself involves many steps. It includes concentrating, processing information, storing and retaining that information, and then recalling it from memory. So it's not such a simple thing. What is it that fuels the brain's billions of cells? It's food. The food that we eat is really what's going to fuel the billions of cells that the brain is made up of. Every time the human heart beats, it sends 25% of the body's blood, oxygen, and glucose directly to the brain. So with each heartbeat, 25% of the body's blood, oxygen, and glucose are being sent directly to the brain to help satisfy the brain's enormous needs for nutrients, for vital nutrients that every cell needs in order to be able to function. So the central nervous system, which really makes up the brain and the spinal cord, it integrates information received from all parts of the body, and it coordinates all the body's activities. It depends on things like amino acids, essential fatty acids, and an array of vitamins and minerals to be able to produce 40 different neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are basically the chemicals that allow the nerve cells in the brain to communicate. So my question is, what happens if you're missing certain nutrients? Let's say you're not getting all the vitamins or minerals that you need, or you're missing certain essential fats or oils that your brain needs. The best way to think about this analogy is like this. Does anybody here do any baking? Okay. If you imagine yourself baking an apple pie, and let's say you got all the ingredients together, but you're missing one or two ingredients. Not enough to prevent you from making the pie, but you're still missing an ingredient, or maybe more than one ingredient. So after the pie is made, is it going to be the same quality as if you had all the ingredients? No, probably not. It's going to be compromised in some way. It's the same thing with the brain. If we are missing out on certain nutrients that the brain needs to make these neurotransmitters, it may not be able to make them in adequate amounts. And there'll be some sort of loss or deficit or compromise to the brain's functioning ability. All I could tell you that in today's world, I don't have to tell you, you see it with your own eyes. I see it every day in my practice. I do work with children, I do work with adults, I work with seniors. Children are not eating well today. Children's health, forget about the brain for a second. Let's just talk about their general health and well-being. When you see children the age of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and they already have high cholesterol levels, or they have, they're obese. I'm not making this up. This is what I see all the time. You know what that means? That means that these children are already, the stage has already been set where their risks of developing diabetes, heart disease, and cancer are greatly increased. When you see children at that age who already have health problems that we normally wouldn't see until a person is maybe middle-aged or older. We see it frequently in many of children today. So I think it's a very, very serious matter. And a message I want to try to get across tonight, which is very important, is for the people listening here and for the people that may view this, is to do everything in your power to try to correct the faulty eating habits that many children and adults have today. Children don't know any better. You know, we're there to try to protect the health and well-being of children, and a child's health shouldn't be compromised at home or in school. But unfortunately, in today's world, albeit not intentionally, nobody is intentionally trying to harm their child's health, but it's being harmed today by the very poor food choices that are being made. So any steps that we can take, either at home, or think about other institutions or other places that your children are in. Think about the schools. Find out about the lunch menus if they eat the school's lunch. Find out, is food being used as a reward, which it often is in schools. And find out, does food have to be used as a reward, or is there another way of rewarding a child? And you may even want to find out if food is being used, what kind of foods are being given out. Okay, these are serious questions, and I think just as we seriously go after other things in the Jewish community, for example, the internet, and it's very important that we safeguard and we take steps to safeguard our children and ourselves from the internet. I think this is a matter that's maybe of equal importance, the health of our children, and helping them to reduce the risk of illness and disease, and also helping them to perform at their peak in school. The school curriculum is very demanding. If a child is not eating well, his or her ability to absorb the material and to concentrate and to perform the way you're going to want that child to perform may be compromised. Again, I'm not saying it's the whole answer to everything, but it's an important piece and it's a serious piece, so I just want to try to stress that as much as I can. The brain has the highest concentration of nutrients, more so than any organ in the body. So even a borderline deficiency of some of the vitamins, for example, vitamin B1, B2, B6, B12, folic acid, niacin, a mineral called magnesium, can be associated with memory loss, irritability, nervousness, fatigue, mental confusion, depression, and even emotional instability. Do you know that if somebody has a low B12 level, now that's not so common in children, but as we get older, it's very possible that your B12 levels could drop a little bit, and it could look as if a person has dementia, Alzheimer's disease, if their B12 levels are very low. It affects the brain. It affects the functioning of the brain. Magnesium deficiency, which is somewhat more common in children and adults as well, may include anxiety, hyperactivity, insomnia, confusion, and irritability from a magnesium deficiency. Magnesium is a very, very important mineral. It plays a lot of different functions in the body, and it's in foods that many children don't eat, like green vegetables, whole grains, fish, nuts and seeds, beans and lentils. Foods like that are good sources of magnesium. Yeah.
I have a question. So about whole grains, what are some good whole grain breads and like where can you buy them from?
Okay, great question. If you don't mind, I'm going to finish soon and then I'm going to pick up on that question, okay? Whole grains, by the way, are another source of magnesium. Most children don't eat those foods. Greens, whole grains, like oatmeal, brown rice, 100% whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, fish, nuts and seeds. These are foods that are not readily eaten by kids and even adults too. So it's not so surprising that there could be a magnesium deficiency. You see? These are things that really we have to give some thought to. Okay, let's go on a little further, and I want to give you some practical tips right now. So basically, good nutrition equals good cognition. In other words, the brain needs good nutrition. One of the best ways to get your children off to a good start is to make sure they eat breakfast. Now, the word breakfast is really two words, right, coming together: break, fast. That's what the word breakfast really means. You're breaking a fast. Your child may have eaten dinner at 5 or 6 o'clock, 6 or 7, whatever, the night before. They get up 6 or 7 in the morning, so they just went 12 hours without eating. So comes along the breakfast meal, and you're supposed to break your fast, and you're supposed to eat. I can't tell you, there are many kids that go to school without breakfast. Either they're late in the morning, they're rushed, they don't have time, whatever the story is, they're not hungry, and they go to school without breakfast. Let me tell you what the research says. So for optimal cognitive functioning at any age, it doesn't matter, child or adult, you have to begin with breakfast. The Food Research and Action Center reports that children who skip breakfast show impaired ability to learn and perform in school. Whereas those who eat a healthy breakfast, we'll talk about that in a minute, tend to work faster on math problems, make fewer mistakes, remember more, and score higher on vocabulary tests. And it's true with adults also. Adults who eat a nutritious breakfast generally perform better at work. What breakfast accomplishes, it replenishes the blood sugar levels that provide the energy needed for concentration and alertness and productivity. Okay? Protein foods are particularly important to be eaten in the morning as well, since they help stabilize blood sugar levels. So, for example, also they're important building blocks for the brain chemicals we spoke about before, the neurotransmitters. So a good choice of a protein food could be a low-fat yogurt. It could be nuts and seeds. So if your child goes to a nut-free school, maybe in the morning they could have some natural peanut butter on some whole wheat crackers or something. That would be a perfect way, and maybe an apple or something with it, or a banana or something. That would be a great way to give them something to get their blood sugar levels stabilized and to give them the energy and the focus that they need. So it could be a high-fiber cereal with some low-fat milk or soy milk or something along that. It could be a whey protein shake, a protein shake. There are many different options. It could be an egg with a slice with some whole wheat crackers also, or whole wheat bread or something like that. So some sort of protein combined with a complex carbohydrate like whole wheat crackers or something made from a whole grain is very important to help supply glucose and to keep the blood glucose levels stable. One of the biggest problems is that many children who do eat breakfast, or for that matter even adults, they usually eat a very sugary breakfast. That's the way it is in the United States. The breakfasts are very sugary. Frosted cereals that could be 50% sugar, or other things like donuts or sweetened pastries or cookies or cakes or things like that. These things are not a good breakfast. Or juices that are loaded with sugar are not really the best choice either. If you're going to drink juice, you're better off eating the fruit, or if you're going to have juice, you want to dilute it with water as opposed to having, a very sugary kind of drink. So having said that, what happens is if your child has a very sugary breakfast, what's going to happen is the sugar is going to enter the blood very rapidly. The blood sugar is going to spike, giving that child a surge of energy. But then the body has to compensate because now the blood sugar is very high. The body is going to release a lot of insulin, the hormone that regulates blood sugar, and it's going to bring the blood sugar down lower than it was before. And now the child is going to crave sweets again. So what you just did is you set up sort of a vicious cycle of a need for sugar. And I could tell you it's an addiction. It becomes an addiction. Children, as well as adults, get addicted to sugar because the body demands it. You've just gave your body a spike in sugar, and now it dropped so low that the body needs more sugar. So you want to avoid those types of breakfasts, and you want to avoid the effects that could have. That could cause hyperactivity. It could cause the child not to be able to concentrate well, because what happens is when that sugar drops, the child is looking for more sugar. He can't concentrate when he's looking for more sugar. It's a drug. Sugar is a drug. Okay, so you want to try to avoid these swings to prevent mood swings and behavioral problems and concentration problems and so on. And you can easily do that by giving a healthier breakfast. I gave you some examples before. By the way, the book L'chaim, 18 Chapters to Live By, which is a book that I wrote, which is available after the talk, has everything in there. Meal plans. Every chapter is devoted to a different aspect of health. And I think it would be a wonderful book for your family and for your children to learn from, and so on. It's written, within a Torah framework. So and it's been endorsed by many leading Rabbanim. So I hope you'll take advantage of it. And it could be a good gift item too for people you may know. Okay, having said that, these swings in blood sugar will also promote obesity. So it's another reason why you don't want to do that. See those delicious grapes on the table over there? If you're able to get your children to eat some grapes in the morning, even, maybe with some nuts, you have a very nice way to get them off to school. Or you know what you could try? Grapes, especially if they're seedless. Are those seedless grapes by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I do with those? I put them into hot cereal like oatmeal. Instead of adding a sugar to an oatmeal, try those grapes in oatmeal, or even put them into an unsweetened or a cold cereal. They're delicious. Yeah, bananas are good too, or some raisins or whatever.
Nuts.
Nuts, you can put in some nuts into the cereal. There's a lot of things you can do. I have in my office a protein powder, a whey protein powder. It's strawberry flavored. There's banana and strawberry. There's chocolate. There's vanilla. You can take a scoop of that and mix it into the oatmeal cereal. Now you're adding a protein to it, and you're giving. You could even add it to a cold cereal. You add, what's that? Offhand, I forget the name, but you can contact me. Contact you. I'll give you the name. It's a very good one.
And how much is cost?
We could talk after about things like that. But the point is, if you think a little bit out of the box and you get a little creative, you could make some very tasty breakfasts. And even if your child is not used to this kind of taste right now, over time they can get accustomed to the taste of these kind of things. And these are the kind of foods they should be eating. Unfortunately, once a child develops a a taste for sugary things and for fried foods and for fried everything, I see the school menus. I would say every other day it's French fries, or 2 times a week it's hot dogs and hamburgers or chicken nuggets. Whatever happened to chicken that's not fried? Chicken with vegetables and maybe some sort of a whole grain would be a very nice meal. Or you could have a soy burger or beans or something like that. Children have to learn how to eat better, you know. I'd be happy. I'll talk anywhere on this topic. So
We check the whole wheat, but it's terrible still.
the whole wheat is not good. They don't like it.
They don't know how to do it.
Yeah, some whole wheat is better than others. They have to. It's also acquiring a taste. It's a whole process, but don't give up on the process. In the book, I give a lot of examples of how you can teach your child or family member to transition to better foods, and I also give substitutes for a lot of the bad foods they're eating. I have a checklist of instead of this, try this. So there's a lot of good information there that.
What about gluten? Is gluten also not good?
So it's an interesting point, this whole concept of gluten. I think it's a little bit more of a fad, although there are a lot of testimonials that people seem to lose weight and do better and so on and so forth with gluten-free diets. I would say if you legitimately have a problem with gluten, you got to stay off it, because it is bad then. But if you don't have a problem with gluten and you stick with whole grains and you use them sparingly, I think it should be fine. But if you want to test yourself and you feel you do better without so much gluten in the diet or less gluten, you can certainly give it a try. Whether it's right for everybody, I'm not convinced.
What about casein in milk?
In milk, again, a child or an adult could have a sensitivity or a problem with almost any ingredient in a food. If you could be tested for some of these things, if food allergy testing could be done, I would certainly try to weed out things that could be problematic. Certainly artificial coloring and dyes and flavors and things like that. If you can get kids off of that kind of stuff, if you can get them off of the sugar, if you can get the diet just cleaner and healthier, you're going to be moving in a better direction. Let me just go a little further, a few more points, and then we'll open up to some more questions and comments. So basically, if you want to feed the brain, so to speak, there are certain foods, and this is not an exhaustive list, but some of the foods that are known to be good for the brain include things like fatty fish, avocado, walnuts, whole grains, blueberries, cranberries, and I'm saving the best for last, dark chocolate. Dark is loaded with antioxidants and has some beneficial effects there, not only for possibly the brain, but certainly for the cardiovascular system and the heart. But it really has to be dark chocolate. It has to be at least 70%. At least 70% cocoa content, and even then, sparingly, because it does have a lot of calories. It does have a lot of calories, so you got to use it sparingly. Okay?
Once a day?
Yeah, I don't see, it's not really a small amount once a day if you can control the amounts. It's amazing the amount of, from the cocoa. Again, the higher the cocoa content, the more antioxidant activity that you have, and so on. You got to keep in mind that the brain can be harmed by oxygen, and that's why a diet rich in antioxidants, colorful fruits and vegetables, are very, very important. And they have done animal studies that show that animals that are given a diet rich in antioxidants, like they had two groups of animals. So one group was fed blueberries, strawberries, and spinach, and the other group was given foods that weren't so healthy. The animals that got the better foods did better on the various mazes that they go through. They were able to remember a maze faster. They were able to learn better, and so on. So the foods really do have an impact on brain function and on the cellular level, and so on. And they do protect the brain also. The cells of the brain are protected against oxidative damage by having the right kinds of antioxidants in the diet. For those of you who have children that really don't eat fruits and vegetables, you should encourage them and be patient and try to get them to, try to incorporate fruits and vegetables. But I recently came across a very interesting kosher product. I didn't bring it, but you can contact me afterwards. It comes in different flavors. It comes in chocolate. It's parve. And it can be mixed into a drink. It can be mixed into milk. It can be mixed into water or anything. And it's the equivalent of 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. It has all the colors of, red, green, orange, yellow, purple, fruits and vegetables made into a powder, greens. It's fantastic. It's organic, and it's parve. So that would be if you got your child to even have something like that. And they have it for adults also. For adults, it's the particular product will give you 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. You could mix it into a smoothie. You can mix it into different things, cereal, yogurt, whatever. But I'd be happy to provide you with more information on that. Okay, so I think we covered some of the basics. Basically, a healthy brain diet would be fish about maybe 2 or 3 times a week, except for tuna. Tuna, because it's higher in mercury, I wouldn't have it more than once a week. And there is one brand of tuna that advertises or promotes lower levels of mercury than other forms of tuna. You could look around for that. But vegetables, 4 to 5 servings a day. Fruits, 3 or 4 or 5 servings a day. Things like nuts, seeds, beans, 4 or 5 times a week. Getting enough water, cutting back on sugar and salt and white flour products, and also increasing your fiber intake to about 25 grams a day. So this would provide a lot of antioxidants and a lot of healthy things for a well-functioning brain. Okay, let's open up to some questions and comments that people may have. Go ahead.
In regards to soy milk, is it dangerous to have it on a daily basis for children?
Okay, interesting question. Why would you think soy milk would be dangerous on a daily basis for children?
I heard that too much estrogen.
Okay, I just wanted to see which angle you were coming from. I would say it's probably a good idea not to have really anything excessively on a daily basis. It's interesting to note that the foods that children and adults, that people are most commonly allergic to, are the ones that we eat most frequently. For example, the most common foods that people are allergic to are eggs, corn, wheat, soy, and dairy products, right, dairy products, and I believe maybe chocolate also, after I gave all that good news about chocolate. But wheat, dairy, soy, corn, Yeah, those are some of the more common foods that people are allergic to. Those are the most common foods in the diet. So I would say it's probably good to alternate the soy milk. In other words, maybe every other day. You know, and you could alternate with rice milk or soy milk, or you could get organic regular milk if your child doesn't have a milk allergy or.
That's the problem.
Okay, so
She's allergic.
fine. If there's an allergy or a sensitivity or any problems with dairy, lactose intolerant, whatever it is, you could find many good substitutes. So soy would be a good
Tried
substitute.
everything else. She
What about
only likes
almond
soy.
Almond milk, coconut milk, rice milk, anything that's but what I would do is with these other milks, to make it a little bit on par with regular dairy, get it fortified with calcium and other nutrients. This way you'll be getting some of the things that these other milks may typically be lacking, okay? So those would be some options that could be available to you.
So
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, so regular milk is not a good option? Like,
I'm not saying it's not.
If it says no hormones and no injections?
Yeah, I would say that would be a better quality. If you're going to use dairy, make it a better quality dairy. Look to get something like organic or no hormones or antibiotics added, things like that. I would definitely opt that way.
Why not whole milk? Why everybody goes for, you mentioned right now that the brain needs fat. How
Right,
about
right.
not whole milk?
So I would say whole milk is important for for a baby or a toddler's developing brain. They do need whole milk. It's a good
The
question.
study showed that you gain more from low fat.
You gain more weight. You're saying from low fat milk, yeah.
Because there's some kind of
Yeah. So I would say that it's an interesting question, the idea of whole milk. I would tell you that most of the information we have about fats is really not so accurate. I could tell you that hydrogenated fats, which was supposed to be the substitute for butter to keep the heart healthy, are the worst fats in the world. And they've been out there for 40 or 50 years already, and the government is moving very, very slowly to get them off the market. In New York City, they have a law that restaurants can't cook with them, but they're still, if you go to the supermarket today and you buy bread, or you buy pretzels, or you buy crackers, or cookies, or cakes, or pastries, or donuts, or muffins, or commercial peanut butters, they all have hydrogenated oils, and they're known to increase the risk of stroke and heart disease and damage the blood vessels, and the list goes on and on and on. Yet they're out there being sold. Manufacturers are still able to do things with them and use them, and so on. So that's a deadly, dangerous fat. But if you're talking about, let's say organic, let's say butter, like organic, I'm talking organic now, organic butter or organic whole milk or the extra virgin coconut oil. These, in moderation, these fats are better than some of the other fats that were already mentioned and we're talking about. Again, I don't think I would load up on a lot of saturated fat. I would use some of these things sparingly, but I like plant foods that have a fat content, like an avocado, or nuts and seeds, or, okay, now we're going to move into an animal fat, which is omega-3, which is found in fish. These are the more important fats to emphasize. Fats that are naturally found in nuts and seeds, in whole grains, in things like avocado, olives, okay, and fish. Those are the fats that I would emphasize. That's where my emphasis would be. In the fats, especially in fish. If for some reason you don't like fish, they do make organic ground flax seeds. The flax seeds ground are another source of omega-3. It has to go through a conversion. It doesn't. See, the fish oil is already in a form that the body utilizes right away. There's two essential omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. That's found in fish. When you eat fish, or you take a fish oil capsule, the body uses the EPA and DHA right away, just the way it is, no conversion. But the other oils found, the omega-3s in flax, they have to be converted to EPA and DHA. So there's a little bit of a loss, but it can be done. It can be done.
right?
I'm sorry?
How you convert?
The body does it chemically. The body will convert the oils that are in those seeds into the EPA and DHA. It's not quite as efficient as what you find in fish, but you do get some of it that way.
So if you add it everywhere,
You could add it. You could add a tablespoon or two a day
anywhere.
into yogurt, into salad, into cereals, into oatmeal. So it's a good source of fiber. But I would get it organic, and I would keep it refrigerated because it could go, bad. It has to be packed properly. There are some companies that are very good that make it. If you want to ask me afterwards or contact me, I can give you some ideas of. It should be in a container where there's no light coming in and packaged, the right way.
What if you grind it yourself?
You could do that also. Get organic flax seeds, grind it yourself, store it refrigerated, and maybe don't grind too much. Grind enough for maybe a few days. Keep it refrigerated, use it up, and then.
So only the ground one has to be refrigerated, or this?
Yeah, the ground one, right? The ground one, right? And the ground seemed to be better because when you grind the flax seed, then your body is opened up to getting the oil out of the seed. The unground flax seed is very hard, and it passes through the body undigested. It will give you more fiber, but the oils and the vitamins and minerals that are in the seed, you may not be able to access until it's ground up. Okay, any other comments or questions? Yes?
Casein in dairy, does it have any studies that it causes hyperactivity?
Hyperactivity, the casein. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into the issue of casein, and some people could have a problem with it, not necessarily hyperactivity, but they could have other problems with it. I'm not sure what its relation is with hyperactivity.
And what if a child wakes up already, or like he didn't eat and he already feels like hyper, and he didn't eat anything except from the food he ate the night before? Can it be with sugars?
It's interesting. It could be maybe from low blood sugar. It's possible it could be low blood sugar. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a physician, so I can't diagnose a problem. But is it the same way all the time, or do you
Whenever
find?
the child is kind of hungry, I feel like that's how it is.
And also, you might want to see if certain dinners the night before make a difference also.
Right, I tried to study the pattern. I think something's carbs or.
Okay, you tried. There's no real. Did you find a
I
pattern?
think there's more carbs. I think that
Makes it a little bit okay. So that it's possible. People have a lot of different sensitivities, and some people, there's some people could fast the whole day and be fine. Some people really, after 2 or 3 hours, if they don't eat, their blood sugar drops and they have low blood sugar. Some people just are what we call hypoglycemic, and they really have a much more difficult time. So how people metabolize and handle glucose varies. But there are things you could do with foods, and I usually recommend that people, and for your children also, if they're going to go more than 5 hours without eating or having a snack in between, that can affect certain children. In order to maintain stable blood sugars, you sometimes need an in-between snack. For some people it might be 3 hours after a meal. But getting the right small meals and snacks sort of spaced throughout the day is the best way to keep the blood sugars more stable. Okay.
And if you give them something, let's say they do want something sweet, you should try to give a small amount, but at least give the protein first. That kind of
I would say, maybe what I think would be a good combination is maybe like fruit and nuts. So they have something sweet with like a protein and like a little bit of a fat. Okay, if they don't like fruit, okay. It makes it a little bit harder. What kind of things do you? There
Try
are.
not to give every day. I'm saying, let's say in Shabbat, if you give them a dessert, you want to make sure that they ate a good dinner and had a good protein, like a balanced protein, carbs, whatever, before you give them something sweet. Otherwise,
Right. That could be right. So,
bonkers.
yeah, that's true. So maybe some homemade something could be, the answer to it, where you control the ingredient.
I'd always decrease the sugar.
Right, where you control the sugar content or find other sweeteners and so on. Yeah.
The vitamin D for kids, the blood test show it's low. They give a medication for 3 months, once a week, the green tablet.
Yeah.
So after this, what we have to do?
Okay, so she's asking a question about vitamin D. By the way, It's very
also
important.
happen for us.
Yeah, it's very important that everybody should have their vitamin D levels checked, children and adults, because it's one of the most common deficiencies in the world today. 80% of the population could be low, especially in northern climates with vitamin D. Almost all my patients, I tell them to get checked. Most of them are low or deficient. And there are many ramifications for low vitamin D levels, which we're not going to really get into right now. The main thing is to check them. Let the doctor maybe advise a dosage to get you in the right range. You're talking about a very high dose that sometimes doctors recommend to get the range up very quickly. But after you follow that therapy, you do need a maintenance dose, a much lower maintenance dose. But you can't say, that's the end of it, I never have to take vitamin D again. That's not true. But a lot of times, there isn't the proper follow-up. You have to get checked again a few months, and then maybe you have to take 800 or 1,000 a day or something like that.
Can the kids get it naturally? Without,
Only from the sun, which there isn't too much out nowadays, okay? Sunlight is the natural source. The only food source where you have a natural source of vitamin D, which is a nice source, is a food that children don't eat. It's fish. Fatty fish like sardines, salmon, mackerel, herring, bluefish, tuna. Salmon and sardines in the can are the two best fish with a good amount of vitamin D. But if your levels are low, you cannot rely on a food to really bring them up. They really won't do it. You will need some sort of supplementation. Yeah.
The vitamin Ds that are out there are scary to look at. I went to a pharmacy, I read the ingredients, I was like, oh my gosh. It had so much pharmaceutical garbage in it.
Okay, so contact my office. We'll give you a very pure vitamin D without any just a pure vitamin D. That,
Chewables?
you could chew it, you could swallow it. It's very small. You can get it. It's
And
available.
how much is the vitamin? I mean, the dose.
The dose? Most experts agree that the 400 units that are in most multivitamins is not high enough. I developed my own multivitamin supplement that you have to swallow. It's not a chewable. I'm working on a chewable right now for adults and children. But the one that I have, I put 800 units of vitamin D. Most experts would say 800 to 1,000 is a more optimal range to be in. Some people say higher than that. I think 800 to 1,000 is a better range, and we put 800 in our supplement.
But for adults or children?
It's for children, adolescents, and adults, as long as they can swallow a tablet. It's not a tremendous tablet, but it's a good one.
Went to doctor. He prescribed multivitamins, and after that he had acid reflux.
Oh, yeah.
So he figured out that because of this vitamin.
Because of the vitamin. It's very unusual that a vitamin would cause acid reflux, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. So if it could be a certain ingredient in that particular vitamin, you could maybe try another one. The one that we made up doesn't have any artificial coloring, flavoring, preservative, sugar, dyes, tar, glue, or whatever they normally put in to hold the pill together. It's at least we try. It doesn't have any yeast. It doesn't have any wheat. It doesn't have any dairy. You know what I mean? Sometimes other vitamins could have ingredients that could somebody could be sensitive to or allergic to or whatever. So it's gluten free, the one we made. So it's maybe it would work out better. I don't know.
From your viewpoint, if a child, like my children, they love their fruits, they love their vegetables. They eat their meat, they eat their carbs, whole wheat, we're sticking it, we're trying, we're working. They eat beans.
Uh-huh.
They're good at that. So, but the doctor still tells me you gotta give them multivitamins. Blood work doesn't state it. So what's the input? If we're healthy, we're trying to follow the top, do we really need to take multivitamins?
Okay, so that's a very good, there's a raging debate whether multivitamins are needed if you're eating well. I would say that even if you're eating well, there are some nutrients that are hard to get, like vitamin D, for example. Your kids and your family members could be eating fantastic, but they still will not get enough vitamin. Chances are that they will not get adequate vitamin D. Have they been checked for vitamin D levels?
Yeah, my son has low vitamins.
There you go. Bingo, you see. So the truth is, for some of the other nutrients, it's very possible that if you're a good eater, you could be covered from the foods alone. But there are some nutrients that you may not be getting enough of. Vitamin D is the classic example, and so that there may be a point to say that a good multivitamin mineral supplement could be a little bit of an insurance policy. It has to be made properly, and it has to have the right kind of ingredients, and it may provide some benefit that way, certainly for the vitamin D
Do
alone.
you think, is it a myth, or it really is true that a vitamin would improve the child's immune system?
Only if the child is deficient in something. In other words, if you could prove or see that the child is low or doesn't have an optimal or an adequate, let's say, vitamin C intake, or they have a low zinc level. We know in senior adults that they were shown to have deficiencies in certain vitamins, certain minerals, and when they took a multivitamin mineral supplement, it did improve immune function. But that's in the case where there was a deficiency. See what I mean?
A regular blood test would show that? Or it has
No,
to be special?
only if the doctor orders vitamin and mineral testing, which is not typically done. But if vitamin and mineral levels are checked, assuming these kind of testing that they do is accurate, then you would know. You would have a better idea.
Also, it's good adult to check vitamin.
It's very good, but
not doing
it won't be routinely done unless the doctor could, I guess, legitimize ordering a test like that. If he suspects that you have a vitamin or mineral deficiency, they may order the test. But there's no doctor today, that's routinely ordering a whole assay of all the vitamin and minerals, even though it probably would be a good idea, to see. But I've told some patients to get certain things checked, and certain things needed to be checked.
What are your inputs on meat?
On meat,
We eat a lot of meat.
I have a chapter in the book. It's called, let me just tell you what the chapter says here. It's, listen to this chapter. It says the following. It says,
Meat as opposed to chicken?
it says, chapter number 9, best protein
Don't just say
choices.
chicken meat.
Meat for Shabbos, but not the rest of the week. Okay?
What about
So
chicken?
we do talk about other
Shabbos every day.
we do talk about other protein options, and meat is. Let's put it this way: if you had to shecht your own animal, okay, we'd have a lot of vegetarians in the room. We eat more meat than we really should because it's available. It's just laying out there in the stores for us. It's already slaughtered. It's already salted. It's already koshered. It's already cooked already. It's not terribly expensive, whatever. So we consume far more than we really need. I usually recommend limiting red meat to no more than once a week.
Is chicken also?
No, chicken and fish could find their way into your diet a little bit more often, but I think red meat should be limited to no more than once a week. And they do make some better quality red meats nowadays without hormones that are grass-fed. There are some stores that sell grass-fed beef. And that's really the way animals are supposed to eat. Cows are supposed to eat grass,
I heard lamb is okay.
In moderation, I'd be careful with the red meats, but I would say if you're going to eat red meat and you can get a better quality and you keep it to a small portion, that's the way meat was always, even from a Torah perspective, meat is a special occasion kind of food for Yom Tovim and Shabbos maybe, it's not, wasn't really meant to be eaten 2 or 3 times a day, 7 days a week,
Even if you're low in iron, you could have
that's a different
other
story,
foods.
there could be other foods or supplements or things like that.
Which better, turkey or chicken?
They're pretty close. The nutrient,
I heard chicken also getting hormones.
yeah, well, hormones and antibiotics and things like that are always a problem, a potential problem with the way meats are processed. If you could get organic sources of these foods, it's probably better. Certainly you can get organic dairy products and yogurts and milk and things like that. And I would use the animal protein sparingly, even chicken. I don't think it has to be. The other thing about it is the amounts that you eat. You got to make it into a side dish instead of a main dish. like 2 or 3 ounces, and fill the plate with a lot of vegetables. The book talks about all of these things in terms of how to get the right portions and how to plan your meals better. So I hope.
And the carbs should be the least on the plate, right?
Yeah. There's no reason to uproot good quality carbs from the diet. Now, when I say a good quality carb, an example of that to me would be a sweet potato.
What about chicken? We can put only in the oven? It's better in the oven.
As long baked, roasted, steamed, as long as it's not really deep fried, breaded and fried, I think that there are other ways to do it. You know what I'm saying? Boiled.
And the skin out, yeah?
Yeah, preferably, remove the skin. You'll cut out maybe 50% of the fat just by taking the skin off. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed coming tonight and giving this talk. I hope it was helpful to you. I know there's a lot more we could probably say